You think I wanted to push that out of my vagina? If I can push that out of my vagina, you can cut the cord. That is your job.
The most recent podcast about pregnancy and childbirth got my boyfriend and I talking about what we're going to do when we're in that situation. He just told me that he doesn't know if he'll be able to watch me give birth. Is that a normal reaction for men? I'm so offended that he wouldn't want to watch me. But I also think when he's actually in that situation, it could be different. Thoughts, feelings?
I would be so mad if Matt was like, I'm sorry, I don't want to watch you give birth. Well, actually, no, that's so funny because Matt didn't want to cut the umbilical cord. It wigged him out. And I was like, you're going to fucking cut that cord, pal. I was like, I just pushed. You think I wanted to push that out of my vagina? If I can push that out of my vagina, you can cut the cord. That is your job. And he was like, I think cutting the cord.
I can't be sure if this means he doesn't want to watch, like, be in the room at all, or he doesn't want to be down the vagina action end, because I think it's okay if he wants to be in the room and be at the head end. Not everyone can stomach it.
100%.
Yeah.
I'm interpreting this as though he doesn't want to be in the vicinity of the birth.
Like, I'm just going to be at the pub. Call me when it's done.
So, yeah. So, like, I mean, it's okay to stay up the party end and not be at the business end. That's fine. I don't have a problem with that. But I do have a problem with being like, oh, this is too much for me. Because guess what, pal? We don't get to opt out of the childbirth part.
It's too much for my vagina to be ripped open too.
100%. The pushing it out vaginally, the being cut, whatever way it's coming out of my body. And that's a bit too much for me.
It's traumatic.
So you are going, it's not traumatic. I don't want to say it's traumatic because it's definitely not for everyone.
No, but I mean, any way that a baby comes out is trauma to a woman's body. Whether it is a C-section, whether it's natural, whether you have drugs, your body is going to go through a level of trauma.
Totally. And I think it's so important when we're talking about it. And I just say this because I know it can be triggering for people. It's trauma to your body, but it's not traumatic.
No, trauma to your body. Physically.
Totally.
Yeah.
So and sorry if that was like too harsh, but when I read this, I was like, I hate that some partners feel as though they are allowed to unsubscribe from something that we cannot unsubscribe from.
Yeah.
When Matt very briefly was like, oh, I don't want to cut the umbilical cord, after I had just had an episiotomy with no pain relief and I was in shock, I was like, you know what, pal? You don't get that option right now.
Cut the fucking cord.
He looked at me and was like, okay. He did such a bad job of cutting.
He cut it with his teeth.
He cut it like 30 centimeters.
I'll get in there.
It was like 30 centimeters long, like still dangling off the baby. The doctor had to come back around and cut it closer to mum.
He did it with his eyes closed. He's like,
But at least he did it. But look, I understand why some people don't want to be down the business end.
Yeah.
It can be too overwhelming. You know, then maybe they are a bit squirmish to blood and guts and everything else.
Not for everyone.
I totally get that and I respect that. And I'm not saying that someone has to be down there at the coalface, but it is childish to me to have a conversation with someone who says, oh, I just can't do it. You can do it and you will do it. And you will suck it up.
And you will love it.
And the reality is like, you guys are not pregnant right now. It's a juvenile thing for him to say because he's not been through the process of you being pregnant and all that sort of stuff. But let me tell you, if he said that in a midwifery appointment, a midwife would give him a good speaking to as well. Because I think the expectation has changed a lot in terms of the role that partners play in that room and their job to be a support person and not to be someone who complains.
Yeah.
Oh, I've had a lot of feelings. Sorry, that just came out.
No, I feel the same way. I will say, as someone that worked, I worked in an operating theatre for a decade and I saw some very gruesome stuff. I've seen students come in and watch that faint and can't watch it. Watching this kind of stuff isn't for everyone. So I 100% understand if someone's like, because you're going to be no help to anyone if you're on the floor. If you're watching that and you've passed out and you're going to take the doctor's attention, I totally get that. But that doesn't mean you can't be in the room. It doesn't mean you can't be holding the hand, giving water, helping, support network. Like, you can still be up there and not in it.
Totally. Also, like, I mean, people react differently to how they think they're going to react. Like, I have so many male friends who are like, oh, it's good. No, not for me. And then as soon as they get in it, they're like, this is the most incredible thing I've ever seen. And they're like down there helping to pull the baby out. I think you never know how you're going to be in that situation. There's probably people who think that they can handle it and then they end up fainting. You genuinely don't know. But I think for me, the thing that would be the most frustrating about this conversation is how he is blanketing something, one that he's never experienced before, and how juvenile it feels to have someone who doesn't have to do any work, who doesn't have to do anything, tell you that it's too much for them. It's just very infuriating, I think. So sorry if I got a bit too heated on that one, but
I think you are right. She said, look, when he's actually there, it'll be different. It probably will be.
It probably will be. But interestingly, I remember when I gave birth to Marley and this whole situation around the umbilical cord, like Matt was incredible. He was a great birthing partner. He absolutely stepped up to the plate. I don't want anyone to think that he wasn't all of those things, but he was very squeamish around the business end. Totally different second pregnancy actually, which is weird. But I remember we were talking to the midwife at the time, and Matt had done this stupid skit video when I was in labor around the things that you should and shouldn't say in labor. And the midwife was like, you would not believe the amount of things that birthing partners have said and how infuriated it's made me over the years. She's like, I have kicked a husband out of the room for making jokes about having husband stitch. So, you know, there's that whole adage that if you give birth vaginally and then they have to sew you up, like
make it tighter.
Give a few extra stitches for the husband's pleasure. And the midwife I was speaking to at the time was like, she's like, back in the day we would all just kind of be like, ha ha ha, and just like let it slide. She's like, but now if someone makes that type of joke, unless I can see that their relationship is obviously quite jovial with each other and they take the piss out of each other, she's like, some men will make that comment and I'll tell them to get out of the room.
So you're like, is now the wrong time to also request a labiectomy? You're like asking for a friend.
But I think I agree. Conversations around pregnancy have changed a lot over the years, and the role in which partners play in that room has changed a lot. Because back in the day, men didn't even come into the room. It was a woman's place. They used to just wait for the call that the baby had been born. And now it's like, sorry, I don't get out of doing this, and neither do you.
And then they get to go and wet the baby's head, quote unquote, where it's like the woman goes home and she's gone through the trauma, and the men's like, I'm going to the pub with my friends to celebrate. Bro, you're going back home and you're going to look after your new baby and you're going to look after your partner.
I mean, they're divorced now. I have I don't know if you call them friends. They're acquaintances. This many years ago, they got divorced. But I remember she had just given birth to their first baby. And the baby was like 2 weeks old, and I'd gone to visit her. And they were in all sorts, as in like they had been having quite a few fights. And the thing that had kicked off these fights was that not even 24 hours after her giving birth, I think it was like she just had the baby, and 9 hours after having a baby, he was at the pub with his friends celebrating going and doing like the head wedding. Like, what sort of fucking culture do we have if men specifically, because it doesn't happen in same-sex relationships in the same way, if men think it's okay to boycott parenting responsibilities when a woman is the most tired they've ever been, the most sore they've ever been. They are
stressed,
solely responsible. Yeah, you're having that massive hormone dump. They're solely responsible for taking care of this baby now. And you leave to celebrate when you've done nothing.
Which involves getting drunk.
Oh my God, it's so fucking wild.
But it's so common. I know so many people that still do it.
And I think it's a lot less common than what it used to be. I don't know anyone apart from this couple, but
I know heaps of people. It's really common. And I guess it's an excuse. They use it as an excuse, like it's wetting the head. It's a thing that everyone does, but it's an escapism. You want to go and have call it what it is. Like, you don't want to be at home for that hot second. You want to go to the pub.
Yeah. I mean, look, each their own, and every relationship is different. And I'm sure there's a lot of people whose partners have done it and they were cool with it. Cool girl vibes. Not me.
Yeah, I'm okay, baby. You go to the Bahamas for a couple of weeks with your friends.
Absolutely fucking not. Like, if Matt was like, I have gone to the pub, he would never. Yeah. He knows better. He's a good boy.